So a few years back, I made a video called Gay Dating in Miami, and that was when I lived in Miami just for a summer, the summer of 2018. So I haven't seen that video in a while, but I do remember that in that video, I basically said that, I've only been here for a summer, so it's not the best gauge of the dating scene, but that it seemed a lot easier to seriously date than other cities in America that I had been in, and specifically that I had lived in, which at that time, my biggest frame of reference was New York City. Now I've been in Miami for a year and a half. I moved here right before the COVID lockdown in 2020. So I have a better idea of what dating is like here, and I can actually confirm that it's not so much easier than I thought it was when I last made that video. So this is like a part 2 to that video. I will say that, of course, COVID has had a huge impact on what dating is like here, right? Because it kind of put things on hold. I even remember being on a bunch of different apps during the peak of the pandemic, and I would talk to guys who seemed great, and then I would find out that they had no interest in meeting anytime soon because it was the peak of the pandemic. And for me, that was like a huge turnoff because I was so isolated and new in Miami that if I'm talking to a guy nonstop for a few weeks, it's like, well, I don't want to wait to potentially see you, 4 months from now. Like, of course I understood that some people didn't feel comfortable meeting because of the risks, but then to me, it's like, you shouldn't be on an app in the first place. Like, please don't waste my time, sir. So that, of course, had a huge impact. So this past year and a half, again, I'm aware that it hasn't been the most typical year and a half in Miami or anywhere to assess like what dating is like. But beyond that, of course, since then, things have opened back up, at least in Miami. So in terms of dating, like it's not bizarre anymore to go to bars or to meet up with guys from apps. And for me, those two methods have always been like really the only two ways for me to meet guys, because it's like, how else do you know for sure you're talking to a gay person and somebody who's interested back in you, right? You meet at a bar, at a gay bar, or you meet on an app. Otherwise, I don't really meet gay guys. What's happened more so than not is, and even platonically, even with straight people, not gay people, the people I've liked the most here that I've met were people who were here in transit. And I think that's the biggest thing with dating here that's difficult, is that you meet a lot of people who are here either as like a tourist or they're here just for the season. It's a very seasonal city. Of course, the previous cities I've lived in at this point, Los Angeles and New York City, you could say are also very transient cities. But here it's like another level because it's Miami. It's one of these places kind of like Las Vegas or I don't know, what's another place that's like that? Maybe Hawaii. These are places that are notorious for tourism, right? So it's a revolving door, and it's a seasonal place, right? People come here for the winter specifically because it's so lovely here in the winter. It's great weather, but it's not too hot, not too humid typically, whereas the summer here is like unpleasantly hot, unpleasantly humid. So that's probably been the biggest difficulty. I do think here, when it comes to the apps, men are a bit more ruthless and like tactless in communication. You don't have the same sort of... What's interesting is like in New York City, and even LA, but more so New York City, it's not unusual to meet somebody of substance on an app that's superficial like Grindr or even like a Tinder, or to meet a guy at a gay bar who's like totally professional, has his shit together, is interesting, is intellectually stimulating. Here, it's possible, it's just way harder. The thing is, there is a scene in Miami, like there is a crowd of people who are like, professionals, and they're educated and they're cultured. It's a very international city. There's a lot of like, of course, there's a huge Latin American influence here, but even beyond that, there's a huge Jewish and Israeli community. There's surprisingly a huge French community here. So you can meet people from different backgrounds who, love to try different cuisines and love to like, go to like the latest museum exhibit. There's a huge art and museum scene here in Miami. I think a lot of people don't know that. But that kind of crowd, I think, again, is less accessible here. Like, they're harder to find. And what I've noticed is they don't gravitate towards the gay bars here or like dating apps. So I'm still figuring out gay dating in Miami. I have had some positive experiences, some cool guys that I've met. I've shared some of those stories here on this channel. But so far it's definitely, I mean, it's proving to me that there really is no perfect place for gay dating. You know, even when you go to a place that is sold as like a gay mecca. You know, I lived in New York City. I lived in West Hollywood, the gay neighborhood of Los Angeles. And there's like a whole other slew of issues. You know, you meet a lot of guys who are addicted to the scene of partying and drugs and going to a bar every night. So with all these travels, as I think you guys might have noticed, I've realized that there is no perfect place. Every place has its issues and every place has quality people, but every city has a different level of access to those quality people. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.